Welcome everyone. The webinar will begin shortly and will be recorded. Connect with the campaign for grade level reading on social media. On Facebook, like the page Campaign for GLR, and on Twitter, follow the account at Reading by Third. Please use hashtag Learning Tuesdays and tag us to tweet anything you learned from today's webinar, and we'll be sure to retweet. We encourage you to share your questions, reflections, and observations on social media. Once again, we would love to connect. So on Facebook, like the page Campaign for GLR, and on Twitter, follow the account at Reading by Third. The webinar will begin shortly. It will be recorded and shared with you afterwards. Okay, once again, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Sierra Sanchez, and I will be behind the scenes helping to produce this conversation. I have just a few housekeeping details before we get started. First, we would love for you to introduce yourself, so please use the chat box at the bottom of the screen to share your name, city or state, and your organization. Be sure when responding to select both panelists and attendees so that we all know who is here. All attendees are in listen-only mode, but we encourage your engagement by posting questions in the Q&A box. We will dedicate the last portion of the conversation to respond to the questions you post. This webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be emailed on Friday to all who registered. And we are streaming the webinar on Facebook Live. Finally, all resources that you see shared as links in the chat will be compiled and shared in a follow-up email to webinar registrants, and materials are accessible on GLR's Community Learning for Impact and Improvement platform, aka CLIP. Lastly, we'll be posting a brief on-screen evaluation during Q&A and highly encourage you to respond. This helps us with our commitment to continuous improvement. Finally, before we start, I would just like to call your attention to our upcoming GLR Learning Tuesdays webinars. Later this afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we invite you to come back to join us for Learning at Home and at School Public Media Education Partnerships. Next week on October 19th, we have an exciting doubleheader, starting with a funder-to-funder conversation on New Jersey tutoring course, lessons in accelerating learning recovery, and then a 3 p.m. session on filling gaps ASAP, unlocking the potential of substitute teaching. Finally, we'll invite you to join us at 3 p.m. to round off October with a session on co-generational solutions, older and younger changemakers innovating together. More information and registration for these opportunities will be posted in the chat box. Joining you now is Jenny Atkinson, Senior Consultant Campaign for Grade Level Reading. Thank you and enjoy the webinar.
Thanks so much, Sierra, and I'd like to welcome all of you to today's Crucible of Practice Salon. This webinar series provides a deep dive exploration into how community coalitions are approaching and moving the work to improve the early school success prospects of children from economically challenged families, neighborhoods, and communities. Our goal is to illuminate the factors and dynamics that combine to propel progress. In each Community of Practice Salon, we hear from a community lead and other members of that coalition and community who speak directly to how they're doing this work and how stakeholders are partnering together to create momentum and synergy. We see these Crucible of Practice Salons as an opportunity to dig deep into the work that communities are doing to make more visible not just the what, but also the how, with the goal of learning more about what it takes to be successful, as well as how to replicate models that are working. This webinar marks a full year of Crucible of Practice webinars with communities in the Campaign for Grade Level Reading Network. We've heard from a range of communities in big cities and rural areas who've shared how they have made it through challenges and had successes in their works, with topics ranging from the importance of relationships and organizing and how to select and implement evidence-based programs to spotlights on work around school readiness, summer initiatives, and school attendance. If you missed any, you can access them all on CLIP, and we'll post a link in the chat to these resources a little later. I'm so excited about today's webinar cross-sector collaboration with Reading Success by Fourth Grade, the team in Springfield, Massachusetts. They have been doing this work since before the Campaign for Grade Level Reading began, and it's a real treat anytime we get to hear about what they are up to. Today, we will be joined by Nicole Blaze, Melissa Blissett, Lori Lee Cabrera Donovan, Vanessa Pabon Hernandez, and Ellen Suzuki. First, though, we'll hear from our moderator and the lead for the work at Reading Success by Fourth Grade in Springfield. Chrissy Howard got her start in education when she was in high school, and worked at a childcare center. Later, as an undergraduate at Wheelock College, she thought she would become a preschool teacher, but switched to math and science with an elementary focus. She also got a master's degree at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Howard went on to be a fourth grade teacher and a union rep in Springfield. She worked as an instructional coach for a charter school in Worcester and later became a head of school while completing her CAGS in urban elementary education. Since then, she's worked as an instructional leadership specialist in literacy back in her hometown of Springfield. How does a math and science teacher become a literacy champion? Howard points back to her student teaching at the King Open School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. That's where she saw that literacy was essential to all the subjects that students learned. These days, Howard is also a student herself, earning a PhD from the University of Massachusetts Language Literacy and Culture Program with a focus on how schools and communities lead literacy efforts. As you can see, she brings a real wealth of expertise and experience to this work. Welcome, Chrissy.
Thank you so much. We're so honored to be here today to showcase the work of Reading Success by fourth grade. And to say thank you and amplify the work of our partners who consistently come together to learn, share, and advocate for early literacy in Springfield. So really appreciate it. The goal of Reading Success by fourth grade, as many of us have, are for all of our kids to be reading proficiently by the end of third grade. Many of us here understand the research behind this, how important this indicator is for long-term success. And we are working to ensure our entire community is organized and working together to make sure that that happens. We're looking not only for the fundamental reading and language skills necessary for success in school, but in life. And that's really, we're really trying to get deep, broad connection and help all of our community partners do their very best work. So next slide, please. And our vision as a community is that Springfield is a city where every child has every opportunity. It's really important for us not to have, oh, we want 70% of kids to be doing this or 80%. We want all kids. We want all kids to have every opportunity that they want. And we do this by bringing people together, again, to learn, share, and advocate for the early literacy skills that we're talking about here. Next slide, please. We have two strategic priorities when we think a lot about the campaign for grade level reading work. Those buckets of our birth to five, our school readiness, our out of school time, and attendance and health, and how they all kind of interweave. And we really have these strategic priorities that are this tapestry woven together, this web, this quilt, whatever you want to call it, that really work to support our city and raise everyone up. When we worked through our planning process, we really decided, since 2009, Cherish Every Child with the Irene E. and George A. Davis Foundation really worked to research and understand literacy is the important piece here. Getting kids access to high quality early education experiences leads to school readiness, leads to third grade outcomes in reading, leads to long-term success in school and in life. And when we take a look at our strategic priorities across the city, we're really looking at two areas that have been pretty consistent over time, and we're just really working to name those now and bring them throughout that complex web of service. In strategic alignment, we are looking to address issues of access and equity. In any urban setting, we're going to have some fragmentation. We're going to have folks duplicating efforts because they're the right thing to do. And we may see gaps in service. We're looking at a complex multi-generational prenatal to 8+ system. We're talking about working with families, with grandparents, kids. It's really complex. It's really hard. If there were one easy answer, we would have thrown money at it and solved it already. So this is not easy. And so we're looking at those big picture. What is the strategy? What are the pieces that we need to align as a city to get this work done, to get kids reading on grade level? When we think about that, Reading Success is one of the organizations that is not, I'm not running programs. I'm not running daycares. I'm not running, after school homework club. We are this umbrella organization that can work to move people forward because we're not in competition for programs. I think that's one of our biggest strengths, and one of the ways that we are able to bring many, you'll hear their stories, many organizations and partners to the table when it comes to strategic alignment. Our second priority is building primary capacity. This is the instructional and relational knowledge that our primary folks who engage kids and grown-ups in that multi-generational complex system, it's their knowledge. It's the work that they do every day. So this is increasing their capacity as of families, caregivers, and educators and community members to enact those literacy practices, and we embed them through positive relationships. There's a lot of research around the positive relationships really need to be a skill that's taught to the grown-ups in our lives, and it's something that we're working on building capacity from organizational design, the way that organizations plan their programs and engage with the public and the community, to how that aligns with outcomes. And again, you'll see later our program partners talking about the ways that they're learning those relational knowledges. We also are really pushing on the science of reading throughout the spectrum of learning how to read. And there's many literacies that we believe are socially constructed. So reading is one of those literacies, and academic literacy. And the other many types of ways that kids know and move throughout the world are also really important. And we work together to build the primary capacity of folks working with kids directly. Next slide, please. So we have kind of brought things together. Again, we are bringing people together to learn and share and advocate for early literacy. If you visit our website in the chat, you can learn a little bit more about what we do. And I am really looking forward to you all hearing from our partners, from the people actually doing the work. The theme we're working through today is that cross-sector collaboration. We do host, our school readiness work groups. We've got work groups and committees and subgroups and all different types of topics, all working in a strategic way to get to all of our kids learning to read by the end of third grade. When you hear from our partners, listen closely at how they describe the experiences of doing the work. You'll hear a lot of them talking about, when we did this, when we did that, when, we came together. It's a lot of these all amazing women leaders. That we've got a lot of we going on here, and that's really important, that we are coming together and doing this work intentionally, cross-sector, utilizing each other's partnerships and leveraging each other's power in order to raise up those folks trying to do their very best work. We have a habit now of not necessarily, bringing in experts to tell us what we need to do better. We are feeling and learning that people doing the work have a really great solutions, and we're investing in them to solve their own issues and work out some really innovative plans for moving forward. So thank you. Next slide. I'd like to introduce Nicole Blaze, the new CEO of the Holyoke Chicopee Springfield Head Start. She'll tell you a little bit about some of our community partnerships and how we've been able to leverage working together to make moves.
Thank you, Chrissy, and thanks everyone. This is an exciting conversation, and we are excited to share with you how we kind of bring all of this work to life. And so, as Chrissy said, I am the new CEO for Holyoke Chicopee Springfield Head Start here in the greater Springfield area. For those of you who don't know, Head Start is a federally funded early learning program for expecting parents to children birth to 5. We are providing services. I will go into pre and during pandemic statistics here, but we provide services to a little over 1,000 kids and families, the bulk of that being in Springfield, since it is our largest catchment area. But we're providing Head Start, early Head Start and migrant seasonal Head Start services to children and their families. Next slide, please. So when we think about school readiness, we often look to, this is our definition from a Head Start standpoint of school readiness, that children are ready for school, families are ready to support their children's learning, and schools are ready for children. So the work that Chrissy has beautifully laid out, this definition fits perfectly with the school readiness definition of reading success by 4th grade. So us being able to be working so closely with reading success by 4th grade is just a perfect match, because it allows us to come to the table, have conversations, really kind of think about the work that we're doing, the impact that we're having, and being able to kind of connect to other partners to be able to make sure that collectively we're ensuring that children who live in the city of Springfield have access to all of these opportunities, and we're all working together to make sure that children are ready to learn. So within our early childhood classrooms, we're making sure that it's a language and literacy rich environment, and we are working collectively to make sure that all of the children, especially our preschoolers, have the very best of beginnings to make sure that they are right on track for school success. And so HCS has been sitting on the Reading Success by 4th grade school readiness work group for quite some time. And we've been a long-standing member, and we are so happy to have a seat at that table, because we are able to work with our other colleagues in the city to really make sure that we're maximizing our resources, and we're all being able to do our very best on behalf of kids and families. Next slide, please. So when we think about strategic partners and partnerships, our goal is to work with community partners to make progress toward positive outcomes for children and families, right? So we are all making sure that we are living out our missions, and we are as individual organizations, we're making sure that we're hitting our benchmarks, and children and families have access to wonderful experiences so that their children are ready to move on and to be ready for kindergarten. And the collaboration with Reading Success by 4th grade, especially that the school readiness work group, really allows us to maximize our community resources, increase our interagency communications. We all have a pretty good sense of what everybody's doing. It helps us to decrease working in silos again, so we're reaching out to similar populations. We're all doing some similar work. We want to complement one another. We want to build on each other's work and not duplicate efforts. And if we have to duplicate efforts, we're coming together to make sure, again, that we're maximizing and aligning all of this great work. We can align our advocacy efforts, and we can enhance services and fill any existing gaps and or know about any existing gaps in the work that they're doing, that we're doing within the community. So the school readiness work group has met for quite some time. We come together monthly. We offer our organizational updates. We kind of think critically about the work that we're doing, identify some overlap, and figure out ways for us to come together to share some of this, and to work smarter, not harder, and again, see if there's any opportunity to come together to really provide the very best that we can on behalf of kids and families. And so examples of the work that we have been able to do I'll talk about a little bit, but on the next slide, you'll see we have been able to come together to do some really great, exciting things. The first annual Building Bridges Conference, some joint recruitment efforts, and a legislative tour. When Chrissy came on, we had this idea about, and it was just an idea kind of floating in the air. We all need to provide some professional development to our staff. And so individually, as individual organizations, we were, doing this independently of one another. And so we had this idea during a school readiness work group. Could we do this collectively? We're planning professional development opportunities for our educators, very well might be doing very similar themes or topics. Could we come together and organize and provide a conference for all of the early educators in the greater Springfield area, whether you were a preschool teacher in the public schools, whether you were in Head Start or center-based childcare, family childcare, infant toddler teacher, preschool teacher, out of school time folks. Could we all come together to be able to offer a conference and to allow to build bridges within organizations, allow and provide an opportunity for educators to network with one another. And so we said, why not? Let's do this. So this past March of 2021, with a lot of planning, it was a labor of love. I will publicly shout out Chrissy Howard, who really devoted her time and energy to make this a possibility. We had over 600 participants. It was all done virtually, of course, because of the pandemic, but it was well received by not only the participants, but all of the folks we had presenting. It was a wonderful event, so much so that we are planning to do it again this March of 2022 because it had such it left a great impact on everyone, and there was so much energy that you could feel it even through the screens. You could feel the energy because I think it was just everybody coming together, for themselves as professionals to build their capacity in a ton of topics, from literacy to trauma, the whole kit and caboodle, and also give our educators the opportunity to network with one another from different program settings. So I'm happy to say we are going to be doing that again this March, because we believe so much in building bridges, because we're all working with the same children. And so it just makes a lot of sense to do that. Over the years, we've also done some joint recruitment efforts, again, whether we are just promoting the point to families that it is great to have a high quality early learning experience before kindergarten, regardless where you go, based on parent choice. We just collectively want to get that message out to families. So we have done a lot of work on making sure that message is out there loud and clear for all to hear. So we've done joint public service announcements. We've helped when collectively, when it's kindergarten registration time, making sure that parents are aware so their children are registered for kindergarten in a timely manner. So all of those efforts we do each and every year, because we feel so strongly to make sure that families are aware of all of the opportunities they have to support their children's learning. And we are also embarking over the next few months on a legislative tour. So really everything that's happened with the pandemic, kind of identifying the fragility of the childcare system, during the pandemic, and as we're working our way through the pandemic, where are we in terms of childcare, our workforce crisis, all of those things, making sure that our local legislators have a good sense of what's happening on the ground in the city of Springfield. And so again, with this work, we're able to, there's a table that we can all convene at to be able to do some of this advocacy efforts together, because it just makes a lot of sense. So very happy to be a part of all of this work. We're doing amazing things, and we've built some really strong relationships that really just help us all in the long run. So thanks, Chrissy.
Thank you, Nicole, and congratulations again. Nicole just recently was named the new CEO of the Holyoke Chicopee Springfield Head Start. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we have a question: who does this work by the collaborative? We all do. That's a really great part about working with Reading Success by fourth grade, is that we've been around since 2009. There are a lot of vested partners and folks who know that we can get things done. At the same time, a lot of the some of the coordination happens with Reading Success with us here, because it is collaborative in nature. Like the conference, if folks had professional development money, we put it in a bucket. And if we didn't, we fundraised, and we all worked on fundraising. We all, there were like 40 people on that conference planning committee from about 20 different organizations throughout the city, including a bank and a union and some public schools and private schools and different community partners. So really a lot of the work is done together. And there's a lot of background work done by Reading Success, because we are not, we don't see kids every day. We don't see families every day, but we have the time and energy to devote to this collective type of work. I think that's definitely something really important. I would also, thank you again, Nicole.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Other types of big convenings that we do. Oh, back one, sorry. Reading Success by fourth grade also brings together folks from all over cross sector. You see here pictures from early literacy leadership summits, obviously before, in the before times. We did have a virtual one most recently. These are really big convenings as well. For us, 100, 200 people in a meeting is pretty great. We have heard from, you'll see our new Commissioner for Early Education and Care, Commissioner Treewergy here, and we also have Dr. Junlei Lee from Harvard talking to folks about simple interactions. The current and former commissioners of early education and care are friends of us, and often come to our literacy leadership summits. They're also full with folks from the business community, from our nonprofit partners, from our foundation partners, from just schools, from interested people from the community who really think that literacy is important. Western Mass, historically, we struggle with workforce in Western Mass, and we, not just in the early ed sector, but throughout. We're very close to Boston, but we're too far to commute. And so there's a lot of issues around workforce development and education that our community partners really care about, because that's what makes Springfield work, literally. And so these early literacy leadership summits have been an opportunity for our entire community to come together and really talk about these important issues about school time of early education, about literacy through the lifespan, and other really important ideas that we all need to talk about and share together. These leadership summits happen every other year, and so they're kind of a great big deal that we have. We honor local partners who have over time become our literacy champions, and you'll see on our website more information about that, but folks who have just stepped above and beyond, and it's a great place to honor our partners in our community. Thank you. Next slide. Another really important cross-sector collaboration, we use data. We use data all the time to make all the decisions. We do have a community scorecard that a lot of folks have, that Clear Impact scorecard. Our MCAS is our state assessment that had interrupted during COVID, wasn't given in pieces. They're seeing where things go next. We're looking to do some ASQ online collaboration between the different state departments and how we share information. So those big, huge strategy data sharing agreements between the Department of Public Health, Department of Early Education and Care, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, just trying to get things all on the same page so that our program partners that work directly with kids don't have to fill things out 3 times or kind of mitigate some of that fragmentation and again, reduce the duplication of efforts. So the other data we have is stories. I think especially since COVID, when a lot of the quantitative data is less reliable, we are relying a lot on the stories of people doing the work and feeling the work and close to the ground, as they say. And we're working to amplify those as well. You can see that on our website. Our next speaker today is Melissa Blissett. I recently, feels recent, but she is the Vice President of Family Support Services at Square One. Melissa has been working with Reading Success by 4th grade long before I have as a family literacy advocate, but I'll let her tell you about herself and the work of Square One. One of the things that we're able to do as that umbrella that bring people together is bring in some great capacity building, professional development for organizations, not just for one, but for many across the board around early literacy program design. So Melissa will take it away.
Thank you, Christy. That was a wonderful introduction. Again, my name is Melissa Blissett, and I am the Vice President of Family Services at Square One. And I have been a long time family advocate, literacy advocate with Reading Success by 4th grade for about the last 7 years. And it's just been a pleasure being on your team, Chrissy. So a little bit about Square One. So Square One provides a range of family-friendly education and support services that are unique to each child and every family served. Our focus is on providing opportunities for children and families to build a foundation for lifelong learning, making smart choices and healthy choices, and to grow strong cognitively, emotionally, socially, and physically. Square One's programs include early education and care at its centers in Springfield. We also have home-based care settings located throughout greater Springfield, and out-of-time care for elementary school age children as well. And our parent education support and training programs are offered through groups, home visitation, and personalized case management to help parents access whatever service they need to be successful in their role as their child's first teacher, which is what I oversee right now. So I had the pleasure of working with Reading Success to participate in the Lectio Institute, which helped our family support services and our early education and care department do a thorough comprehension analysis of our literacy programs by doing 4 things: research and discover best practices of early literacy. We created a program design evaluation tool, completing strategic mapping and planning, collective action and change. And what we discovered when completing the Lectio Institute is that even though we were doing great work with promoting our early literacy and building bridges to cross-sector both family services and early education and care, one, we didn't have any cohesive strategy to increase early literacy with our early learners. We didn't have a specific tool to measure the outcome of early literacy. And the program we use were just being differently all over our family services programs, our early education, our home visiting program, and even some of our groups. So what we did upon completing the Lectio Institute is that we decided to form an ongoing group to continue to redesign our literacy efforts. So we have a strategic planning group that includes supervisors, direct service staff, educators, and including our executive team. We all agreed that using Raising a Reader will be the program used to increase literacy. And our next step is to create a tool to measure and track literacy skills to measure success and school readiness. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Melissa. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Melissa has been a pioneer with reading success by fourth grade for a while. And we were so happy that we were able to bring the Lectio Institute to Springfield. And we had, I want to say 14 program partners that day participate in over 50 hours of professional development. So y'all worked really hard, and so happy to hear that you are continuing that work within your organization. A lot of the professional development and capacity building that we're able to support financially and through logistics is based on teams. And because like Melissa was saying, her team from the executive side to program partners, we're able to continue the work and sustain the work within the organization far beyond whatever those hours of professional development were. We're continuing to look at different models of capacity building that allow for like a deeper understanding. Nonprofit over time definitely has a lot of the same staff turnover that I think that we're all looking at right now in the workforce. And we want to make sure that our learnings are institutionalized. So Melissa, as a leader in her institution, had selected a great team and will soon be participating in our like round 2. Melissa's team really felt like they were again looking at the evaluation tool and seeing like how can we make this better. And so our next step in that capacity building like workflow is to get them individual coaching on program design and evaluation, specifically for literacy outcomes, so that when she and her team, who meet with thousands of kids a year, they'll have that expertise and their coach in their back pocket to help them make sure that the design of their program leads to literacy outcomes that they're looking for. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you for having me, Chrissy.
Along those same lines, I'd like to introduce our next panelist, Ellen Silzicki. Our work with Lectio was one way that we have really invested in the staff of the programs doing the work in Springfield right now. That was very systematic, again, with a lot of teams and building for program design for early literacy. Ellen and I have been working on specifically looking at folks in the out of school time community who are in informal education. So these are places that you don't have the same kids every day, like libraries, museums, playgroups. And Ellen's really done a lot to work on engaging those folks. We know there's, like I said, in building capacity, we have our instructional knowledge of how to teach reading. But we also know that like drop-in is not the time to be learning, your letter sounds, your letter names. Oftentimes those drop-in or those informal education opportunities are the best for the relational knowledge. And so Ellen can tell you a little bit about the professional learning networks and some great speaker series we had.
Thanks, Chrissy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending today. My name is Ellen. I'm the Children's Services Supervisor at the Springfield City Library. We have 9 locations throughout the city, and we're a permanent fixture in the early childhood landscape of the city. Could I see the next slide, please? Thank you. We strive to lead the way in early literacy innovation and collaborate and support with other community institutions and organizations. Our early literacy team at the library works towards raising awareness of the importance of early literacy and pre-reading skills for children ages birth to 5 and birth to 8. In addition, the library provides resources, training, and modeling to parents, caregivers, providers, and library staff. The pandemic has given us the opportunity to reshape and work through consistent evaluation and redesign of programs to meet our intended outcomes of bolstering the 5 practices of early literacy: talk, sing, read, write, play. This year only reinforced our aim of meeting families where they are and providing literacy encouragement. We're working towards more innovative literacy practices in the city of Springfield with a focus on embedding access to books and texts within our community. We've partnered with an urban gardening group, Gardening the Community, to host story walks, and we'll be working with our Parks and Recreation Department to also host more story walks throughout the city. And Springfield Library staff is also working with Springfield Library Book Exchange, which is similar to Little Free Libraries, an organization that maintains little free libraries throughout our community. And Chrissy is also doing some great things with book giveaways and book borrowing at barbershops and laundromats too. So through these projects and our community partnerships, we can boost Springfield families' engagements with literacy practices and improve access to books and bring libraries and texts to underserved populations. Next slide, please. So as Chrissy mentioned, the library is an informal learning environment, and these are some of our partners who also host informal learning. The Springfield Museum, which is right behind our central library. We also partner with the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art. Home City Families, which is a group grant funded and hosted by the Springfield Public Schools that offers story times, play groups, and learning landscapes for families that have children birth to 5, and also New England Public Media, our local PBS station. Next slide, please. So as Chrissy mentioned, we have formed a professional learning network. So in 2019, we got together to form a connected learning group with the mission of continuing the conversation of diversity in children's literature, learning how to create an effective and welcoming space of dialogue, inclusion, safety, and equity for children and families, and discussing what we can do as librarians, informal educators, museum educators to stop the perpetuation of racial inequities. So the Professional Learning Network on Children's Literature, which we call PLN or PLNCL, facilitates discussions, idea sharing, and learning opportunities through a hybrid model, so online and in person. And this group offers opportunities originally just for Massachusetts informal educators with an interest in social issues in children's literature to connect through learning and networking events, sharing articles and research, co-writing opportunities, and more. Our continual focus is diversity in children's literature and discussion of what informal educators can do to bolster diversity in literature. So this led to the planning of our first conference, our Multicultural Children's Literature Summit, which you can see on the first flyer, which was held in person February 2020, right before COVID, at the Springfield City Library Central branch. And it was a half-day event that gathered almost 50 informal educators from across the state of Massachusetts. Dr. Marie-José Botello gave a keynote address of critical multicultural analysis of children's lit, and Janice Catalina from Square One gave a brief training on cultural humility, and during a lunch and learn session, participants were encouraged to network and connect, and we had a brief presentation from our local bookstore owner, Z Johnson, that owns one of the only bookstores actually in Springfield. And then earlier this year, with the spread of the pandemic, we moved things online to our winter speaker series. So PLN produced a virtual 4-part series online, which featured authors, librarian, museum educators, and delivering talks focused on EDI and diversity in children's literature. Our speakers included Sophie Kenny, who is the Assistant Manager of Children's Services at the Aurora Public Library in Illinois, who recently presented at the ALSC Virtual Summit. ALSC is a branch of the American Library Association. It's for children's services. We also had David Feinstein. I'm not sure that's his last name. Chrissy, is that really his last name?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, a literacy educator at the Eric Carle Museum Picture Book of Art. We love David. We have him, we collaborate with him a lot. I guess I never knew his last name. And then we also had Gloria Respress Churchwell, author of Follow Chester, and Jewel Parker Rhodes, an award-winning author and Piper Endowed Chair at the Arizona State University. That was really great because in our winter speaker series, when we moved it online, reached so many more people and got shared in all sorts of listservs in different states, and having people come. So Sophie lives in Illinois. We got people from Illinois. Gloria Respress Churchwell is in Boston, so we did get some people from the eastern part of the state. David's always a big draw for people. And also Joel Parker Rhodes is now living on the West Coast. She's no longer in Arizona, but she is a big named author in children's and YA literature. So we were really able to expand our network and reach in terms of professional development while switching online. That was just an opportunity we saw with the pandemic. So yeah, join us on Facebook to find out more about our events and resources and sharing information on, I'll drop the link in the chat for our PLN. Thanks.
Thank you, Ellen. Yeah, and if you, I think as we build capacity with our program partners and with the organizations we work with, it is really important that not only are we talking about our best literacy practices, but that those best literacy practices happen in environments and within relationships that are conducive to really responsive learning, where kids and families know that they're safe and welcomed. And this is one of the major ways that we can do that in informal learning settings. Again, these activities are definitely for what Ellen and I like to say, we folks who like to geek out about books and really take a deep interest in that partnership. So that's a little bit about our capacity building, both in the systemic structural work around program design and development and investing in our organizations, as also with our primary capacity for the folks who work directly with kids in informal settings. Next slide, please. We continue to support out of school time partners. We this year had a fellowship for out of school time leaders who wanted to add and work on increasing literacy in their summer programs. We provided their staffs of over 400 people literacy training, as well as give each of these fellows an opportunity for one-on-one coaching and how to give feedback on literacy practices, specifically in an out-of-school time setting. That was really, really important and really had transformed a lot of the work that we're doing. We are still in evaluation period with our fellowship, trying to understand the impact. It's really hard to gauge. I'm sure a lot of us are in this, like, how do we go year over year when COVID was such a hit? So we're still trying to understand the depth and complexity of the data that we're receiving, but it looks really great. We also worked on our summer of 30,000 books. I'll tell you about that. Next slide. We worked with, I don't remember who started the conversation, but First Book and Disney Publishing and Reading Success by Fourth Grade got together and somehow We received 30,000 books on June 19th of this year. And it was awesome. We heard from families and teachers, and mostly families. I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old in my home, and we read the same books throughout the entire pandemic because there was not a lot of options when you're stuck at home for a year. And that we just heard from everyone, we need a refresh. We need some new books. We need to have some kids have things in our homes and classrooms that we don't necessarily need to share, that each kid has their own. And so we are on our last leg of getting 30,000 books out to kids and families in Springfield. You'll see here a lot of our program partners. This is one of our Square One home visitors coming to pick up books for his infants and families that he visits at their homes. On the left is a farmer's market that was open, and you can see the line for free books. When we just offered them, people like, oh, how much do I have to pay? Or I don't know if I have it. You just free, you just take it. You just read because reading's great. This is again, one of those communication strategies, these really pushing that sense of urgency and momentum around the importance of early reading. We know that a few free books doesn't always make change behavior, but for some families who've been home for more than a year, sitting reading the same book over and over again, it's a little bit of peace. And so below that, you see our other partners at the Basketball Hall of Fame, which we're lucky to have in Springfield. Our local Six Flags came with Bugs Bunny, I think, and a few other really just great communication partners showed up that day to really help us out and get out our green backpacks full of books to kids. So very, very exciting work. That's a lot of engaging families in the public. And we do offer all of the books to the educators who also came to the conference as well. Of those 600 educators, Nicole was mentioning that it was collectively run. We had family childcare, center-based preschool, public-based preschool, out-of-school time. All of them also came to pick up books for their centers as well, and their childcare. So we are very happy to spread that love. But as one of the many prongs of our very, very large umbrella. Someone who can talk about the great ways that we're able to engage families, similar to these free book events, other ways that we engage families is through an amazing texting program. And I want Vanessa Pabon Hernandez to talk to you more about this. I walked into this and this was the happiest day of my life. It's understanding how built up and structured and joyful this next part of our partnerships have been. So from New England Public Media, this is Vanessa.
Thank you, Chrissy. And as one of the founding members of 413 Families, I'm excited to be joining you guys this afternoon. And while it isn't a traditional communication strategy, I have to say that it is one that we as a community have embraced with open arms and have really found some consistent engagement. So as many of you guys know, or may know, New England Public Media within the past 2 years transitioned and merged with our local NPR and NPR station. And so we now offer expanded PBS and NPR content as well as local content that we produce. In many cases, a lot of people don't realize that public media stations also offer on the ground, in-person engagement. And so one of the strategies through our community outreach of taking what you see on television into classrooms or in the community, we realized that it was a challenge to have a consistent communication strategy engaging families, especially those underrepresented and that may not be in our viewer or listening audience. So as part of the Reading Success by Fourth Grade initiative, as one of the partners in that collective for years, I remember approaching the Davis Foundation at the time about this idea. And again, after realizing that many of our families were, I think we agreed that our partners were finding it a challenge to share, communicate, and invite families to timely events and activities. But we also had a hard time with figuring out what was the best vehicle. So we tried newspapers, we've done television spots, we've done the radio. But after polling families, we heard from them that they didn't have emails or they rarely checked them. And so we knew that they were listening and watching periodically, but not consistently. So as a community, our partners, and if you go to our partner side, slide, the next slide, please, you'll see that we have a variety of partners that have joined our efforts and had agreed with how this initiative would definitely assist with and aligned with reading success by 4th grade. Again, it was a strategy that engaged families in a way that provided interactive and educational opportunities, either in person as well as now virtually, obviously due to the pandemic. And it was no surprise to all of our partners that we all lacked a collective communication strategy, especially one that involved bilingual messaging. So after several months of planning, we launched 413 Families in 2016. And we started off with a focus in Springfield families first. And then in 2018, our partnering, our surrounding community, Holyoke, asked if we can do some text messaging to engage their families specifically. And now we have engaged families from various surrounding areas. On the next slide, you'll see some of our promotion strategies. And our target audience was families with young children birth to eight-year-olds. And our promotion strategy consisted of creating a website where that families could opt in if they wanted to. That way, besides a cell phone, we designed postcards for families with, if you notice, there's a little design on there for the kids to interact. We created bookmarks as a way to encourage reading. And we also provided banners, pull-out banners for our families, for our partners to have at their facilities or at events. And we used that in a way where that every partner that was involved whenever they had an event had a table, and they encouraged families that attended to opt in right then and there. On the next slide, you'll see specifically as part of our promotion strategies, New England Public Media hosted PBS Kids meet and greet with characters. And so we held screenings specifically to 413 families. So VIP exclusive events where that they can meet characters and watch some of the upcoming shows. We also held events through our station and offered either free or very low cost tickets to events that we hosted, as well as we promoted 413 Families by creating short spots that aired on television as well throughout our social media. A lot of our messaging also was in Spanish as well, because we wanted to make sure we promoted the content for all families. On the next slide, you'll see some data that shows how families opt in. So they could either manually opt in on their phone. They could go to the website, as I mentioned, and some people were specifically using the keywords. So to the right of this slide, you'll see some of our, how many families are opt-in to date in the surrounding area, and then those specifically to the Holyoke area. We typically send 1 or 2 messages per week, and families have the option to either opt in to receive messages solely in English or opt in to receive messages solely in Spanish. These text messages vary, where all partners submit suggestions, ideas, content that either promote events, activities, or educational tips that they offer. So either books, book lists, parenting tips, educational resources. We also offer a lot of giveaways to ticketed events, bookstore gift cards, as well as Pride Store gift cards, which is our local gas station, and Big Y, which is our local supermarket. On the next slide, you'll see an example of how a message looks on the text on your cell phone. And on the website, you'll see a variety of a gallery of slideshows where that families have responded to our text messages and offered photos or short videos of how they're engaging with the text message we've sent. I will also say that the majority of people, the response time is within 24 hours, which is really exciting to see. And it's just almost immediately. And then just in closing, I would like to just share a slideshow of some of the images that families have responded to.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I love watching those slideshows. Oh, it's so good. The best part that about the 413 families texting is that they text back and then we share out what they texted. Like, how great is that? That it's not, you know, a one way, just push it out to the world, but that we get back from families. And oftentimes you can see like, oh, hey, is this event open for 5-year-olds too? Like they're engaging about the topics, but they're also just showing us what's going great, and we can share that with others' families as well. So we have a lot of really cool corporate partners who sponsor, you know, gift cards or some of the supplemented tickets, things like that. And Vanessa's pioneer in getting that work done and organizing the community and working so hard and diligently to get us up to, we're almost at 4,000 subscribers. That's pretty amazing. Our opt-out rate is less than 1%. That means families like it. That's awesome. And we want to keep that great partnership up. So thank you again, Vanessa. I definitely want to spotlight our next speaker, our next panelist, Lori Lee. Lori Lee is a family literacy advocate. She and I previously worked together in Springfield Public Schools. Lori Lee Cabrera Donovan is a parent of amazing young child, a teen, bless you, and has a lot to say about how we are currently engaging families. We had an earlier question about what that looks like. Well, we do it through texting and we do it through convening. We bring people together cross sector, and families are some of them. We do have family members on our leadership board. We have family members on all of our work groups and almost all of our committees. So something to be said for that. Lori Lee, tell us about Family Literacy Advocates.
Thank you. You can go to the next slide. Thank you for that intro, Chrissy. I love the fact that when you were talking about like, how do we know if things are working, that stories are one of the ways that we know. So because our minds are made for stories, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we're doing through some stories. First, I just want to tell you about myself. So in addition to what Chrissy just mentioned, I work as an ELA ILS in Springfield, which that's just a fancy word for being a coach. I'm a literacy coach in our district. I'm a family literacy advocate, which I had shared before, and I'm a research assistant for the Community Foundation of Western Mass. I'm a Heinemann Fellow. I'm an adjunct professor at the Westfield State University. I do all of these things, but my favorite job and the one I'm most proud of is being a parent. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. I live in the East Forest Park neighborhood in Springfield. I'm married to Chris. We've been together for 22 years. We have two wonderful children, Milena, who is 14, and Jude, who is 5 years old. And recently in July, my mother kind of joined the clan, and she's living with us right now. These are just some pictures of my kids. Literacy is very important in our family. You can see Milena, she's the one with the crazy wild hair reading with daddy, and a picture of her now. I love talking about my children. There's Jude, he's reading a book by a local author, and he's now in kindergarten. You can go to the next slide. So family literacy advocate. Some of the official things that we need to know about is that it is linked directly to the vision of reading success by 4th grade. And Chrissy talked about that before, but our part, it says families and caregivers are the experts of their children. Creating a system of support for the caregivers in kids' lives, we will learn and grow together, support each other, and engage our community together. So essentially, that is what we're doing together. So some of the things that we've officially done as a group is we've had workshops. We had workshops about how to conduct a read aloud. We had that through the Springfield City Library. Thank you, Ellen. We had an advocacy meeting. So they talked to us about what does it mean to advocate for literacy in your current context. We had workshop about children's books. So how to expand our repertoire of children's literature. We did that at the Eric Carle Museum. And we've had other meetings about like logistics, how do we plan for things? And we've had a lot of support in the form of other resources. So materials on how to do the things that we come up together to do. So the story of my coming into this group began in one of the events. I took my children to one of those 30,000 book events at the Basketball Hall of Fame, and I go to Chrissy, and we've worked together before. I looked for her and I said, Chrissy, you're not going to believe what we're doing in my neighborhood. We're doing XYZ. And she said, oh my goodness, Lori Lee, this is exactly what we are looking to do and expand on. And that's how I joined the group. It was just a conversation, and Chrissy said, well, this aligns to what we're doing. I'd love for you to join the group. And then I met these wonderful women that you can see in one of the pictures below at one of the workshops. They are also doing this. So we're not working in isolation. We're gathering together, and we're planning events across the city in many different neighborhoods. You can go to the next slide. So here's some of the real things that we do. So that's like the official stuff. We go to workshops, we do things, we get some training, we get some materials. But what does that really look like when we're out doing this family literacy advocacy work? So it started for us, or me specifically, with these books and jammies. So here we have these kids who are in the middle of pandemic. There's not a lot of things for them to go out and do, but we do have a community of other children around. So I said, well, let's just get the kids together and read them a book. So we started with this books and jammies. This is the second year that we're doing it. And all it is we pick a book, we do a read aloud, and then we have some kind of activity. So some of the activities have been coloring or writing. Some children love performing, so we've added some singing and dancing afterwards, and then they go off and like play games. Sometimes we do like kids karaoke, and the kids will come and sing a song, or they will they'll tell jokes, and it's just like an open mic for the kids after the read aloud. And we incorporate different families from the neighborhood. And what has happened is it has morphed in this like small project. Let's just gather on my lawn and I'll read you a book, to now other families taking it on. So my neighbor, one of the pictures there, you can see my neighbor said, oh, I'll take it on. I'm going to do Christmas in July. So we packed a little Christmas tree in the wagon, and we had a Christmas in July celebration. We don't have pictures here, but they've done Christmas, they've done Halloween in July. And other parents have done other things. We did ice cream where the kids read, the kids actually were the ones who read the books that time. They read books about ice cream, and then the parent had different toppings, and they made like little sundaes outside of their house. Because we have children of different age groups, we've noticed that the kids want to be more involved. So we've had children, as you can see in some of the pictures, who are much older. We have teenagers who are partnering with their younger siblings and playing the games that we have. Like if we played charades, they partner with an older sibling and they play charades. Or they've been we did a little scavenger hunt throughout the neighborhood. So getting to know your neighborhood, we're like, who on their lawn has 5 yellow flowers growing in the front? And then they would go to that place. So the older kids were reading the clues, and then they were going around the neighborhood and finding those. So what began as a tiny project has branched out to so many things. And some of those things have even connected to what other partners have shared. For example, I got a text from a parent who said, I heard that the Blades, which is the Bruins mascot, is having an event at the library, at our local library. It's the East Forest Park Library, which is beautiful. And she texted me, so we gathered some kids and we walked over to the library for the event. Other times, I grab my kids and my backpack, and then the kids see me outside and they'll say, Miss Lori, where are you going? And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to the library. So what started off as, me and my 2 kids going to the library are now 5 and 6 children going to the library and getting library books. They all have library cards. One didn't, so we sign them up. And probably some of the librarians recognize us when we go in because it's a big group of kids. And they just really enjoy it. We've participated in what Chrissy shared before at the farmers market, distributing those 30,000 books. And I have a text, I put in a text that I sent to Chrissy. I went in to volunteer a few hours at it, and it ended up being such an amazing event. I took my mom, who speaks Spanish. She was going around looking at families who were Spanish speaking and sending them over to the booth and just saying, oh, look, my daughter speaks Spanish. Why don't you come and join? And she'll talk to you. She'll share some books, and she'll talk to you about what you can do with those books. So a lot of things have occurred, and a lot more people are getting involved. I took the kids for a hiking story walk out. That's another picture you can see up there. We gathered a few of the families. Those are not all of our kids. Some other kids whose families didn't go, the kids joined us. And there's this beautiful hiking trail that has a story walk. So we took the kids hiking and we read the story as we were walking along. The pages of the stories are all spread throughout the trail. So that was really fun to do with them. And it, you know, it takes them outdoors. Next slide. So there's a lot that we do with our children, and that we do with other neighbors who have taken on this work. And it's all because we have gathered kind of these resources or these kind of our talents to do these things. We've worked on building relationships because that's what it's really about. It's building relationships with the people around you. It's finding joy even in the hardest of moments, which the pandemic was. It's organizing the people around you. It's communicating with them, having conversations. Our kids are going out and talking about books with their peers. My daughter organized with another group of kids this it was like a teen book club that morphed into like a teen short film group. They watch these short films and then they talk about them. Like those little snippets, The Hair Love, which was one of the books that she had seen, and then found that there was a short little movie about that. But it's communicating and organizing, and then you sprinkle in a little bit of literacy. Although my background and education is on literacy, it's very minimal. Is there any teaching? It's just, let's find something fun to do with these kids. Let's bring a book along and let's see what happens, because ultimately we all want the same thing. We want happy, healthy, successful, and caring kids who are going out there moving and shaking. And this is just a picture. This summarizes the community that we've built. No teens are there because they don't want to be in the picture, but now they've started this group of the Roadsters, taking advantage of the opportunity that our road just got paved, and they all go out with my husband and they talk to many different people, and you have so many different generations. The grandparents are watching, so they get to talk and communicate with others and build relationships, because it's what it's all about.
Thank you so much, Lori Lee. I love those pictures and those stories. That gets me every time. I really appreciate it. I think, next slide, please. I think that the work that Lori Lee and that Ellen and Vanessa and Nicole and that Melissa, that they're all doing is the work that needs to get done around relationships. The relationship piece is the core of how we're able to leverage these partnerships, because we do things, we make things happen for people, and they make things happen for themselves. And sometimes that's, setting up some logistics and getting out of people's way. Sometimes that's like in the Family Literacy Advocate experience, that has been grant funded. Those advocates are paid $20 an hour. That is really important, that we honor families' expertise, that their time is as valued as our staff, that things that we do honor the people doing the work already. And so this is all of our jobs all of the time. These community literacy in public spaces, the story walks, we have picture here of reading for the haircut at the barbershop. We've got story walks all over the city. We've got, we're working on book nooks and banks and waiting spaces. We have a lot of these experiences just set up as part of what we do in raising readers, in raising kids who are literate in the many ways to be literate, in the many multi-literacies that they grow and move around the world. The more they see adults reading, the more folks see in the environment that they live in, and that's our whole city, reading by trusted families and neighbors, and reading and literacy throughout really well-designed programs, and welcoming relational knowledge by their informal educators at libraries and museums, and working with the schools, the literacy best practices that the state of Massachusetts has worked very diligently in putting out recently. These are the kinds of work that we need to do, and we cannot do it alone. No one can do it alone. And so our cross-sector collaboration has been the way that we are moving things forward, and we are. I'm very proud of it. So I'd like to thank all of our panelists for their work and welcome any questions coming to us.
Thanks so much, Chrissy, and the whole team. Again, we do have some time for questions now. There are a number of questions that have been asked that were answered in the Q&A box, so feel free to go and look at those if you saw those questions and didn't see the answer yet. But while we're waiting, in case there are questions, there are a couple of questions that I did have that I would love to ask the group. And so one is that, you know, I think when you've had a coalition for a long time and you have sort of work groups that are set, you know, it's hard to keep things sort of fresh and current. And so I'm wondering, first, that question, are there things that you all do to keep people engaged? But then second part of the question, I guess, is how do you get new groups or organizations or people into the coalition? I know sometimes it sounds like maybe you just walk up and talk to Chrissy and suddenly you're doing work with the coalition. But if any thoughts on, you know, how you engage with new partners, you know, how that starts, and it probably doesn't work the same way for every example.
I would say I have a decent grasp of the research of what is effective in terms of, you know, how communities can move literacy forward and in different spaces. And so I think one thing that I'm doing right now to engage new folks or re-engage folks is to just say yes. I know everyone's like, oh, you have to put boundaries, you have to say no all the time. And, you know, we've always done it this way. That's not really a thing anymore. And I feel like saying yes has been really just like, you know, Lori Lee just was like, oh, we're doing this thing. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen. You know, and that sense of moving forward, and we're always moving forward. I think trying things and failing sometimes is important. We've said yes, and then it just doesn't work out. And then we just keep going, you know, and that happens too. But I think that sets up at least the opportunity for collaboration or when new partners come on. I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in.
I just want to add that for me, I encourage my team members that have the same alignment to take part in any of the Reading Success by 4th grade, and also provide opportunities for them to lead so that they feel like they own that process or that role. So I think that's also important as partners, to not think of just us as the key stakeholders, because we also know that organizations go through transitions and people move on. But in most cases, I think maybe unique to our area, regardless of where you work in the organization, you tend to just stay on, regardless if you have a title change.
Thank you. You may have seen a poll pop up. If you did, we'd love to have you complete that as we continue the conversation. We really take the feedback that you give us and work to improve our webinars for all of you. So thanks for doing that. And anyone else had a comment on that question, either, you know, staying current and fresh, or bringing in other partners?
I can answer that. I know sometimes partners can even be friends. I know I have a lot of friends who either work very closely related to the work that I'm doing, whether it's in the public school system, whether they're doing community work. Sometimes I like to drag them along and invite them with me, and then they end up becoming part of the team and becoming part of the collaborative team as well. So again, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and just having them support you, and then having them be a part of the advocacy work.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Melissa. We do have one question here in the chat box. Do you follow your students to know what their reading outcomes are 10 or 20 years after you work with them? And maybe just in general, how do you track that kind of information?
We do have the capability right now through some data sharing systems across the district to see how kids do longitudinally if they stay within Springfield Public Schools. We are also working on data sharing agreements for the ASQ online to track our birth to 5 and have more formative data to make citywide decisions. These are the ASQ sharing is in process right now, but we're looking really hopeful at those agreements will be signed soon, and we'll be able to have a community-wide database of our birth of 5 data as well. We do have a community data warehouse set up for our pre-K to 12 system that we are able to use and utilize and understand how kids are going over time. Attendance is integrated in that system along with academics. And that is through our very amazing Springfield Public School partners who house and support that entire infrastructure that really does show over time how kids are doing and the sustainability, the graduation rates, attendance, everything like that.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have 2 questions here. Let me throw them both out there and you can decide which one to answer first. One is, what kind of outcome measures do each of the collaboratives have? Are they focused on the organization partners or the community intended for impact? Mm-hmm. And then there's one on the legislative tour you're gearing up for. Can you talk more about that and how will the burden of research be shared or assigned?
Great. So I think the legislative tour that we're gearing up for, we recently had a state grant for preschool expansion that came out with a report pretty recently, and a smaller CPPI. It was the PEG grant, the CPPI. Everyone has their acronyms, right? That grant is currently in process. And so from that report, along with the Boston Universal Pre-K Design Report, we're pulling just pieces of that together. I think in terms of the burden of research or share, I think our school readiness work group, actually, Nicole, do you want to chime in about that? Because you were in that small group.
Sure. I think, as members of the I keep saying workforce, school readiness work group, I think there's a shared burden, for lack of a better word. I think we are, this space where we can come together to kind of step back and critically think about, how the landscape has changed or how is it changing. There's a lot going on with the universal pre-K conversations at the state and federal level. How is that going to shift the work that we're doing? What do we need our elected officials to know? What's that unified voice or message that we want to give to our local legislators? So I think working together and kind of sharing all of that, because we might be doing that independently of each other, but I think it's more powerful, coming together to kind of lessons learned, all of that stuff. So all of this work that we're doing with all of these grant opportunities, in the name of sustainability, or, there's some lessons that are learned that are kept and not forgotten. So, I think this is work that we are just interested and committed to do. So it doesn't feel like, there's a lot on one partner or another. I mean, it's just something we feel is a good use of everybody's time, talent, and resources.
I think we definitely make the work groups work. I think there's some work getting done there. I think the other question about the measurable outcomes, we have parallel measures for both the organizational partners and the community and for impact.
Gotcha. Great. Thanks. Another question here about, how did you find your family advocates?
So I live in Springfield and I work in Springfield and my grocery store is in Springfield. Being present and being around is really important, being in different spaces. I also have young kids, so we're at a lot of things. I work in a library. That's, we're kind of in the mix. But actually Melissa was here before me. So maybe Melissa, do you want to chime in? And then maybe Laura Lee, if you have any insight.
Sure. It's actually a funny story, but I became a family advocate through social media. So they started with the hashtag 413read. So what that is if you have a picture of your child reading or reading with your child, to make sure you post it on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can have a chance to win a $50 gift card with a local gas station, which is named Pride. So I have a friend of mine who I'm very close with, Taisha Ware, who is a family advocate as well. And she started posting a lot of pictures of her and her son reading. And I think I was intrigued by that. I was like, I read to my kid a lot. I want to post pictures of my children. I see other friends that that's also in our circle that would post again, pictures of their children reading. So I used the hashtag 413 Reads, and Sally Fuller, who was the director for the Reading Success by Fourth Grade, saw my picture, and I won a $50 gift card to Pride gas station. And then she was like, you know what, I see that you are an advocate already in reading and being a part of the Square One family. Would you be part of the family advocate for reading success? And of course I said yes. And that's how we started telling a friend to tell a friend about the wonderful work that we're doing in Springfield. And now we're here.
And like Laura Lee said, we just bumped into each other at an event, which also happens. Social media is a big engagement, and so is our 413 Families texting. That's been a real, I mean, that's almost 4,000 people in one text. You get a lot of feedback that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we're right at 1 o'clock. We ran out of time for a couple of some really great questions, but thank you so much for the conversation. I have to say, you almost make this work seem easy, but I know that behind that is a huge amount, an incredible amount of work and partnership and dedication and just brilliance that you've showed us today. So thank you so much for your willingness to share with us and everything you're doing in Springfield. And to everybody else, hope you have a great afternoon. Feel free to join us again at 3 o'clock for our webinar on learning at home and school public media education partnerships. And then, as you see here, the following week, the New Jersey Tutoring Corps, as well as Filling Gaps ASAP, Unlocking the Potential of Substitute Teaching. And the following Tuesday, Co-Generational Solutions, Older and Younger Change Makers Innovating Together. All great topics. So we'll hope to see you again here soon, and have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.